Hello. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I am Ryofu, and you are watching The Gaming Harbinger. So as most of you are aware, there has been multiple controversies regarding the Nintendo Switch 2. But let's put that to the side for just a moment. I want to take this time to discuss with you 5 random games. Technically, there's going to be a bonus one, so it'll be 6, but let's just say for now, 5 random games that are Switch 1 games, and we're going to talk about how they run on the Switch 2. Because at the end of the day, when I was considering purchasing a Switch 2 or not, I was like, oh yeah, backwards compatibility. That's actually important to me because there's still quite a few Switch 1 games that I have not finished. But if I get the Switch 2, then, you know, the party just keeps going and I can reach into the backlog occasionally and play a Switch 1 game. Perfect. Another important factor to this video is that these are games that did not get a patch to work with the Switch 1. So in other words, this is literally, the games already exist, they're already fully updated, and then Switch 2 comes out, bam, you slot that into your Switch 2 and you start playing. These are the end results of that. And if you're new to the channel, we cover anime news, gaming news. We also do reviews, and every so often we cover conventions. If that sounds remotely intriguing to you, please consider subscribing. So let's not waste any more time and let's just dive right in and see how these Switch 1 games perform. I also want to add one more thing before we get started. If you're someone that was on the fence regarding the Switch 2 and then you heard about key cards or whatever and you're like, well, I'm not going to get it. Well, a video like this, I think it could still be helpful because either it's going to solidify your thoughts and you're going to be like, now I know I shouldn't even bother. Or you're like, well, if it improves games that I'm interested in, maybe I'll check it out. Or if it's not enough, then you're like, hey, I'm fine to just keep playing on the Switch 1. The first game I want to talk about is a game that's not on a lot of people's radar, but it is a game that does run better on Switch 2. It is in fact a game that used to run at 15 frames a second. Yeah, I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm being dead serious here. We're talking about Deadly Premonition 2. Come on, let's go. Where my Swery fans at? Where my Swery fans at? Come on. And I have to say, I have to be completely honest here. I understand that, you know, Swery doesn't make the most polished games, but his writing is so impeccable. He's like a mini Quentin Tarantino in a way with how obsessive he is with the interactions with the characters and how detailed he gets with the dialogue. I just love his style of games. This game in particular, performance was terrible. And I think the fan base that he has built up, you know, he might have lost some of them. And I'm hoping that when they hear about this game running better, not even a little better, much better, this could pull them back to check out the game. So again, as of right now, there is not a patch for this game, but it runs at like 60 frames a second. Like I said, these type of games are not known for their polish, so there isn't any anti-aliasing in it. But as far as performance, it's much smoother when you're traveling in town, much smoother when you're just walking around in buildings. And these are all areas that were issues in the game, where if you're outside on the skateboard, it's like 12 frames a second. I wish I was lying to you. You should look up videos. It's horrible. Actually, don't look up the videos because then you will be like, I shouldn't even play this. No, you should play it. Did you get all of that, Zach? Next, let's take a look at one of my top Switch games in 2023, Master Detectives Archives Raincode. Gosh, that is a mouthful, and I have been saying it over and over throughout the past couple of years of this channel. Anyways, I know that there are some fans that feel like this game is just sillier than Danganronpa. Okay, fair. And some will take it a step further and say, it's just not a true successor, man. It's not. But honestly, I found this game insanely entertaining. It always made me laugh. If I was in a bad mood or had a bad day at work, play this game, it always put a smile on my face, always had me cracking up. And it had all these twists and turns throughout the story, doing your detective work. I really enjoyed it. But how does it run on the Switch 2? It runs essentially the same. Now, this is worse than you can imagine, but, well, not horribly worse, but the thing is this. They didn't do anything, there's no changes or anything to the game, but because of that, I want to say this is one of those Switch 1 titles that runs maybe 720p or slightly lower than 720p. So then, when you play this on the 1080p screen of the Switch 2, it looks a little muddy. And then you put it on, in my case, a 4K screen, looks a little muddy. Well, in the case of the 4K screen thing, it looked a little muddy back then when I was just playing on the Switch 1. The Switch 2 is bringing out, you know, the uglies, so to speak. So if there's any little blurry effects or anything like that, or anything that looked a little muddy, it looks even more muddy in this version. Now let's pretend for a second that you upgraded. You know, you traded in your Switch 1 to get a Switch 2. I think you will be okay with this. It's not going to ruin the game or anything. It's not horrible. The performance isn't bad, but nothing is improved at all. So it still runs at 30. And the thing is, if you have a choice and you have both systems, I would just leave it on the Switch 1. All right, so let's talk about Dying Light Premium Edition. Now, as I've mentioned before, the original Dying Light is like one of my favorite games from the Xbox One, PlayStation 4 generation. And the fact that they got this to work on a Switch 1 was a miracle. And it looked pretty good, to be honest. But putting this on the Switch 2, okay, this is where things get a little different. Some parts it's similar to Rain Code, but there are other parts that are worse, unfortunately. So the first 2 weeks of owning the Switch 2, I was experimenting with multiple games and just seeing how things played out. And when I loaded this one up, there were stutter issues. And it almost seemed the longer you ran around in the areas, the more the stutters would happen. I believe I tried to record this when it happened, and I am not 100% sure I got any footage. So if you don't see any of the stuttering or anything, then I might have recorded a couple of days afterwards. But the thing is, in October 2025, this appears to be fixed. The stuttering was bad, and I say it was enough to make the game unplayable. That's what I would say. The odd thing is that an update for the game never came out, as far as I'm aware, so this might have been fixed on Nintendo's end with a system update. So this very well could be a problem that was happening to other games, not just Dying Light. So the stuttering was happening every 3 to 4 seconds, so it was very obvious and very distracting. As far as everything else, it is pretty much similar to Rain Code. The game's flaws are going to be blown up in handheld, or when the system is docked, and the game just looks kind of muddy. But, you know, it didn't look too muddy on the Switch 1. It looked decent enough. And I think that's just something you have to keep in mind. Again, this is another situation. Totally keep this on the Switch 1. Next, we have Atelier Lulua, the Scion of Arland. So this was another game that had stutter issues, but what makes it so weird is that graphically, there is less going on with this game than Dying Light. So it's like, what gives? This is like a PlayStation 3 game. So why is this game stuttering? But the stutters weren't as frequent. It wasn't like 3 to 4 seconds. It was more like every, I don't know, you could run around for a minute or so and nothing would happen. And then when you least expect it, bloop, you know, your character kind of stops for like half a second and then starts going again. It was weird. And just like Dying Light, the stuttering is now gone. So now with all that aside, how does the game look? Well, this is literally the only game that looks identical now. It looks identical. So like playing it on the Switch 2. Performance does not improve. No frame rate improvements, no graphical boost, nothing. So now the game looks exactly as it did when I was playing on the Switch 1. I think the only reason, and this will probably be the case for me, because Lulua was a game that I never got around to finishing, so I would probably play it again, because I think it's freaking adorable, but I would probably play it again. But the thing is, I'll probably play it on the Switch 2 because that'll be what I'm playing more at the time than the Switch 1. But I think if you're in a situation where you're trying to save space, absolutely leave that sucker on the Switch 1, because you're not going to get anything out of it being on the Switch 2. I mean, to be honest with you, you're just taking up space. Now, let's take things in a slightly different direction. Is there, and we're kind of bouncing off of what we saw with Lulua, is there a game that runs good or looks good on Switch 1, and it also looks good and plays good on Switch 2? I'm glad you asked. That is none other than the 100-line Last Defense Academy. Act like you didn't hear about this game. Act like it. I'm going to just throw this out there right now. This is probably my game of the year. I know you think I'm crazy. You think I'm a lunatic. I understand. I'm still playing through like Silent Hill F, and Metroid's not out. And also there's other stuff that came out that I've already played through. And you're thinking, really? This one? You damn right, son. You damn right. So let's start with handheld mode. The Switch 2 screen is a LCD 1080p screen. I remember hearing a few people bemoan the fact that it wasn't an OLED. But guys, looking at this screen in all of its 1080p glory, it looks clean to me. It looks nice. The colors are so lush and razor sharp. And oh my, it does not look too shabby docked on a 4K screen. I'm just saying, I'm keeping it real with you. The game looks great. Now, to be fair, I am going to admit that yes, this is a visual novel. Well, / visual novel, because then when you're actually playing through the turn-based side of it, it's more strategic. And then, so it's like two games in one. But we'll say a good portion of it is visual novel, and the pictures and the stills look amazing. The characters are very fascinating, very entertaining. These type of games, this guy just kills it, and I'm so happy to support a game like this. Danganronpa fans, 999 fans, you should be checking this out. Shame on you if you haven't. Now, when you put aside the stills and everything, the visual novel part of the game, when you put that aside and you actually go into the gameplay, when you see the cutscenes, which the cutscenes look really good, by the way, but when you see that stuff, all of it looks great. All of it looks great. Performance is great, but the thing is, it's not running at 60 frames per second. And like I said, there's no changes, there's no distinction, but the game ran decently on Switch 1 and it runs decently on this one. If there is a difference, I can't tell a difference, but it looks good. It looks fine. I will totally accept this. The game is just awesome. And I just dig the art style, man. I have to keep it real with you. I love this art style. So like I told you guys, I was going to give you a bonus game, and I didn't spend as much time on this one. I did test out Bayonetta 2. Now, you guys are probably like, what in the world? So if you're wondering why I'm throwing this into the video, I never finished Bayonetta 2, and I was eager to jump into Bayonetta 3. So I was like, you know what? I need to finish up Bayonetta 2 first, so let's just start from scratch. And whoa, this game is like absurd. It's frantic, it's perverse, but it's a lot of fun. It really is. Now, the graphics are really showing their age at this point, but keep in mind it is a Wii U title. Anti-aliasing is just non-existent, but the game does appear to run at 60 now. The Switch 1 was close to 60, but there were still frame drops. But at this point, I just don't really see anything happening. Everything just runs good now. But of course, when you get to the cutscenes, they still run at 30. But regardless, I am still a little curious if Nintendo will decide to clean this up, boost the graphics a little bit. But I'm starting this over, and I'm really enjoying this. It's a really fun game. I'm starting this over and I'm absolutely loving it. It's reminding me of a time in gaming to some degree it's come and gone. But it's so much fun, man. It's so much fun, and I can't wait now to play Bayonetta 3. And so there you have it. I have 6 games that I tried out on my Switch 2 to see how they panned out. And I think the general gist is that it's gonna vary. And I know that there's lists floating around online, and it'll tell you this runs at 60 or nothing's changed or whatever, but sometimes seeing is believing. And that's why I wanted to make this video. And I also, I knew that in general, the games I was going to pick were going to be a little off the radar in some cases. So I thought that's another thing that makes the video even more interesting. Please leave a like, drop a comment, tell me how things are going with your Switch 2 experience. Or if you're one of those people that's like, hey, I'm on the fence here, but I'm still trying to decide if it's worth it or not. Well, all I can tell you is so far I'm pretty happy, but it really boils down to like, do you have a bunch of games on your backlog? And if you look up how they perform on the system, if they perform any better or there's no difference, then yeah, maybe it's not worth it. I am not here to sell anyone on, oh, Switch 2 is amazing and blah, blah, blah. I really think it depends on what type of games you're into. And as you can see, it's a mixed bag for me. Deadly Premonition 2, thumbs up. 100 Line Last Defense Academy, thumbs up. But then there's some stuff where, okay, great, it plays on the system, but there's no improvements for that. I mean, I could just leave it where it's at. I already have a save file and started playing on the Switch 1, so what's the point? But anyways, that's going to do it for me. Thank you for watching the video to the very end, and I'll see you next time.
So you clearly love TV shows, but what about movies?
Movies? We don't even have a movie theater around here, so I can only watch what I manage to catch on TV.
Like what?
For some reason, the only movie channel we get at home is the sci-fi one, so I just watch a lot of sci-fi.
Like what? What's the last one you saw?
The one with Schwarzenegger, where there's all these clones.
The Sixth Day, 2000. Directed by Roger Spottiswoode. You must be very well versed in sci-fi if you can appreciate an Arnold S. film.
I thought it was way too easy for them to make more clones, and you'd never see a clumsy investigation like that on CSI.
That's right. It's realistic. Everything about that film is so realistic. It may be difficult for a child to understand. But, Patty, that's not your fault. All of Arnold S.'s films are filled with hyper-realism, On top of that, Roger Spottiswoode is a director who excels in dealing with hardcore subject matter. Turner and Hooch, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Each film features one of the toughest tag teams you'll ever find. I can see why it's beyond you, though.
No, what I'm trying to say is, Schwarzenegger's character was just a pilot, right? Why was he so strong?
It's okay, Patty. You don't need to try and act like an adult to impress me. I didn't understand the charm of Arnold S. films when I was your age either. You need to take your time and slowly reel the film in. Do that, and Arnold S. will greet you with a big, warm smile.